Welcome back. This is segment number 52 of Making Sense for 7 minutes. It's a summer-long series, Monday through Friday, where we are surveying in bite-sized pieces our historical narrative as given to us in the Bible, and asking, as always, the immeasurably relevant question, so what? One way to discern a person's character is to watch how they respond to another person around them who is in crisis. And there are some beautiful things about Jesus put on display during one such situation that is recorded for us in the 8th chapter of the Gospel according to John. It's early morning, around dawn, and Jesus is teaching a crowd of people in the synagogue when a woman is forcibly brought in by a bunch of religious leaders. And they put her in front of the crowd. They declare that this woman had been caught in the very act of adultery, and that the law required them to stone her. And Jesus, what do you think about this? Now, we're also told that this vicious act of cruelty was an overt attempt to trap Jesus with his answer so that they would have some sort of reason to lay some sort of accusation against him. And that's why I'm convinced that this whole thing was a setup, that it was a conspiracy, with this poor woman as the patsy, and she is now in a terrifying crisis. She was caught in the very act of adultery by a bunch of religious leaders. And then she's brought into the synagogue. It's announced in front of everybody what she was caught doing. And she's told that she's now likely to be killed. Watch Jesus. He stoops down and begins to write on the ground with his finger. Once he's done that, all of the eyes that had been focused on her are now focused on him. And you just know that she's thinking, oh, at least they're not staring anymore. Incidentally, this is the only time we're told when Jesus wrote anything. And we don't know what it was that he wrote, but I have a strong suspicion. I think he was making a list. Lies, theft, rage, adultery, hate. And then he rises up and says, whoever among you is without the first sin, you go ahead and throw the first stone. Then he stoops again and writes again. This time, I think he wrote next to the sins that he had listed the names of people in the crowd, including the religious leaders. Johnny, Frank, Nancy. And Jesus has now shifted all the attention, not only from the woman to himself, but now from himself to themselves. The woman was in crisis, emotionally, publicly, physically, and Jesus' first response was toward her. He was aware, certainly, that there were issues that had contributed to this crisis, and he'll address those. But she was his first priority, and he genuinely, actively, practically, meaningfully loved her and cared for her. One way to discern a person's character is to watch how they respond to another person around them who is in crisis. And there are some beautiful things about Jesus put on display during this encounter. Even more of that surface before it's all over. But, we're running out of time, and that's going to have to wait until segment 53. However, at the end of segment 46, I left you with a riddle, and then I ran out of time and didn't give you the answer to the riddle. Well, the answer is 2 pair of pants. That's it. Okay, thanks, y'all.